All right. It's good to be here. I really wanted to show you something about my family. I wanted to share with my family, but normally I work on my laptop and my cell phone interchangeably, and I normally have one of those little cables that I can plug into my phone, and I can plug it into the laptop, but I don't have that now. So I can't show you my family. I would love to, but they aren't here. So I have a wife, which I think is the most beautiful woman in the world, and I love her very dearly. She's my support and my all. And without her, I certainly cannot do what I'm doing. While I'm traveling around, training people, she's praying for me. And I need that. So I'm very grateful for her. And I also see one of my colleagues' wife is here. How about coming up here? Come up here. Because I don't know who is watching out there. I know my people are trying to watch, but they say they're not getting connected. But, you know, I see her regularly with her husband. I've never met her personally, but I see her regularly with her husband when they post on the AWR headquarters site and they say it's the carbs. So I'm so happy to meet you, and I've called you up so that hopefully out there all the people can see. This is the lady that's praying for Jan Carbuncle. Him and her and his kids, they are supporting him like my wife is supporting me. Thank you for coming up. And thank you for the great job you are doing. Because let me explain something to you. While her husband is doing the training right now, he's training in Ireland, and I'm training over here, let me explain something to you. The one that does the hardest work, the one that's doing the most important work, is the ladies. Not us, standing up here talking. It's the ladies back home. Never forget that. They're doing the big job, the job that nobody sees, but they're doing the good job. I have two boys. My oldest boy, he lives in Canada. He's already past 40 years of age, which tells you something about my age. But I'm cool for my age. Anyway, my oldest boy lives in Canada. He's the director of sales and marketing for the Hilton Hotel Group, and so because of that, I get to stay in the great hotels for a fraction of the price. So I'm glad for that. My youngest boy is an airline pilot, and of course when I fly and I know my boy is sitting up front, I feel the safest, because I believe nobody flies a plane like my boy. He's the safest pilot, you know. Anyway, whether that's true or not, that's the way it is. And I love him very much. He's married. My oldest boy is not married, so if there's any young ladies looking for an attractive young man, just come and talk to me afterwards, okay? And I can set up something. I'm sure I can. As far as my youngest boy is concerned, he is 39. He's turning 40 this year. And he's married to an English lady from London, and they have 4 kids. The first 2 was twins, and they are 4 girls, and of course they are my heart. The twins, they are turning 18 this year, so they are they are not really small. They are young ladies, beautiful young ladies. And then there is the middle one, Mackenzie, a couple of years down the line. Mackenzie is 13, and Riley, the youngest one, is 12. That's my family. As Cecilia said, I live in Namibia on the west coast of Africa. And I work in Washington, D.C. That's where my office is. And I'm never at my home, and I'm never at my office. And it's a very good relationship because I'm getting paid every month. So something must be right. Anyway, so that's more or less my life. But I'm very happy when I'm in Africa. Africa makes me happy. It's my happy place. Because in Africa, and I wished I could have shown you the films or the photos, in Africa is the place where we get to take cats for walks. My cats are 3 cheetahs. So any one of you want to see the photos, speak to me afterwards and I'll show you. And where we get to play with lions. And speak to me, I'll show you my lion that I play with. And my friend there, Duke, you old enough, so I believe you've probably gone through initiation. You know, the guys there in Kenya, they have my respect because they do something that I'd never do. You know, there's certain rules and regulations with cats and lions. You don't scare them. You always come from the back. You never confront them because they then think you are challenging them, and you never scare them because their reaction is to fight. So you don't do that kind of thing. You come from the back and you come with a lot of noise so that they know that you are coming, and they say, okay, that's okay, I can continue doing and paying attention to what's in front of me. But not the Kenyans and the Tanzanians. No, they come from the front. You know, they just walk right up to these lions. And he will tell you, you can speak to Duke. If a lion has made a kill, 2 or 3 of them, they will stand there and watch and make sure that everything's okay. And once they've established that everything is okay, they'll walk straight up to these lions. And these lions will like, hey, what are you doing? And after a while, the lions will say, hey, maybe these guys are serious. I mean, we better start doing something here. And then they normally run away. And they go in, they take the piece of meat that they want from the kill of the lions, and off they go, and the lions come back and finish their meal. I will never do that. But you guys do that. I have a lot of respect for you guys, man. But this is great. This is what makes me happy. Because you know, the Lord says one day, when we are in heaven, we will all play with the lions. And we will all play with the leopards and the cheetahs and all the other beautiful animals. And they won't be afraid of us, and we won't be afraid of them. And they're not going to eat us or bite us or get scared and react in a way that they're not supposed to react. So that's why Africa makes me happy. Because I see heaven in Africa. And I'm also happy to say that my African brethren and sisters are serious about Jesus. I've just come from Zambia. I just preached in Zambia. I was there for 10 days, and I preached in Livingstone. And I want to tell you something amazing that happened there. Because, you know, there's something very similar to Zambia, Livingstone, and your church here. No, not you people in it. But there's something else that's very interesting. Just outside here, that side, I believe, and just a little bit up the road, we have the area where the ladies of the night and the not so good people are walking around. Isn't that true? Well, where I was in Zambia, Livingstone, there's also such an area, a nasty area, with people doing things that they don't particularly want to do. And so we had this meetings, 10 days. And one of the sisters in the church is a social welfare worker. And this sister got somebody to take her into this area. And it's a dangerous area. You just don't go in there. So she got this person to take her into this area. And she established trust. And she invited 20 of those ladies. 20 to come to the meetings. And they told her, they said, we are sick and tired of our life. We don't want to do this, but we've got children at home. They need to be fed. They need to have a place to stay. And we don't have other options. What shall we do? And so we established very quickly a committee to look after this. And the president of AWR, Dr. Dwayne McKee, he made available 300,000 Namibian dollars, or Zambian kwachas. And we put this into a fund. And we established an organization very quickly, within this 10 days that I was there, to arrange to help these people so that they can do something else to earn money and not having to do what they have to do. It breaks my heart. Anyway, I'm happy that we could have done that. I'm so grateful for Adventist World Radio that made that money available to help them and assist them. And at the end of the week, we baptized all 20. God is amazing. He's so good. That's just the latest story. But not only the 20 ladies, they were exceptional because it was so different. You know, it's people that we wouldn't generally want in our church. We don't want to be associated with them. But it's not their fault that they're there always. It's not their choice. Sometimes they want to get out. Sometimes they desperately want to get out. And maybe that's a mission field right here. That's why I'm telling you the story. But not only those, after the 10 days, after the meetings and after we've spoken to the people, we baptized on the Sabbath 350 people. Not only the 20 was part of it, but we baptized 350 people after 10 days. You will tell me when I tell you this, you say, well, that's Zambia. That's not Geneva. But I want to tell you that here in Geneva, there are many, many people that are crying out and wanting to know. They want to know the Lord. They want to have the answers. In Namibia, we are 2 million people in the country. 2 million. We have got 20,000 Adventists. That's 10% of 10%. Right? How many people live in Switzerland? How many? 8 million. 10% is 800,000. 10% of that is 80,000. Have you got 80,000 Seventh-day Adventists in Switzerland? That's more or less the equation. And if you don't have 80,000 people in Switzerland, where are they? Because they are here. Statistics tell us they are here. They have to be here. They've just not made the decision. They're not here in the church maybe, but they are here in the country. So where are they? And it's your job and it's my job to reach them. So this is why we have Christ for Europe. This is the reason why we have Christ for Europe. This is why we are spending a tremendous amount of money to bring the gospel to Europe. It was our aim to have 1,000 evangelistic meetings running simultaneously in May. I can tell you that we are past 1,300 already. That's going to be held simultaneously in Europe. And you are part of it. You are one of those. So, let us think about this for a moment. When we talk about these things, we normally say that God gave us the Great Commission. This is what we normally say. And we normally speak about Matthew 28, verse 19 and 20, and that's great. I personally like Mark 16 a lot, because Mark 16 tells us something else, something very real, something interesting. Mark 16 tells us that not only are we supposed to go, but Mark 16 says that he gave them the authority to go and heal people, to go and deliver them. Oops. You see, because we normally preach. That's not a problem. And we will tell people about the health message and help them to live healthier lives, and that's not a problem. But when it comes to deliverance, we just kind of sort of forget about it. Nobody does it. I came from Austria to here. Well, was in Austria first, then I went to France, and then I came here. But when I was in Austria, in the church in Austria, something interesting happened. There was a lady called Donna. She comes from Jamaica. And Donna came into the church. And it worked a little different to here, because I came and did the training for Sabbath. And it's supposed to be Friday evening. It's supposed to be Saturday morning and Sabbath school time. It's all training. Training Friday night, training in the Sabbath school time, so Sabbath school lesson gets taken away. We do training then. We do training in the divine service. Then we do training in the afternoon, and Sunday morning we close off the training. That's normally the program. But not here. In Austria, they heard that I was there for a week. And they decided they will use every single minute that they could of mine. And so I had to go to church every single day. And they wanted to know all about all kinds of things. And Wednesday night, it was the prayer meeting. And it's at the prayer meeting that Donna arrives from Jamaica. And so we preached the sermon, and we are now going to pray. And as we pray, for the first time in my life, I was confronted with it personally. I have been confronted in different ways, also in Zambia, by a good friend of mine who still lives in England, Bulgarian from birth, but she was in a TMI project, in a Christ for Europe type project in Zambia, and the night that she was going to preach the state of the dead, the night before, she was attacked by the devil, and she spoke to me, and that night when she preached, I went with her and preached. She preached, and I was praying for the whole time so that the devil wouldn't attack her. So I know about things like that. It's not like I don't know. But this Wednesday night in Austria, I was confronted in a very real way. Because when we started praying for Donna, Donna is a gentle lady. She's a wonderful lady. Soft-spoken, great voice. But all of a sudden, there was this voice going out here. And all of a sudden it says, "I hate Jesus." Something like that. I thought, wow. Lord, what now? We had to pray for her. We prayed, and there was deliverance. It's unreal. The devil is real, let me tell you that. And don't forget it. Not for 1 minute. He's very, very real. And he's not going to let go. But we prayed for Donna, and we fought for Donna. And when we left, she was calm, collected. She repented of sins. She repented of things that she hadn't forgiven people about. She even repented about not forgiving herself. And we could go home. And I'm glad to say that I've had reports that Donna is a changed person. So again, God was good. So I like Mark 16, because Mark 16 says that we're supposed to do this. We're supposed to bring deliverance when needed, when required. I like John 15, verse 16. Because John 15:16 says, I have ordained you. This is Jesus speaking. He says, I have ordained you. I've given you this great commission. I've told you to go. Now I'm telling you, I've ordained you. What does it mean? It means I've given you the authority. I have given you the power to go and do these things that I've commanded you to do. You don't have to be afraid. None of you are unqualified. Every single one of you sitting here is qualified because Jesus himself ordained you to go out and do the work. He doesn't just say that I've ordained you. He says I've ordained you so that you will bear fruit. He doesn't want us to go out there and work and work and work and never see any results. He says I've ordained you so that you will bear fruit. And then he says that your fruit may stay. He doesn't want you to bear fruit, but 2 weeks later they're out of the church again. He says, I want you to bear fruit, fruit that will stay, that will remain, that will be solidly grounded in the truth. And a little bit before that, he says that you will bear much fruit. Not just a little, but much fruit. So I like John 15. But I also like Luke 14. Luke 14:17, which he says go, and he says go and do this, bring healing, bring deliverance, preach the word. He says this is what you've got to go do. He doesn't just say that I've ordained you, I've given you the authority and the power, but he says this is what you have to do in Luke 14. He says, go out there and tell the people to come, because the table is ready now. Not just now, not tomorrow, not next year. The table is ready now. Go and tell them, come now. Now it's ready. And I like all of those texts. I love them. But I like this text for quite a different reason. And I'm going to share one other one with you as well. But this text is unreal. It's Isaiah saying, cry aloud, spare not. Lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. That's powerful. Something that we don't always want to understand and know. And I'm going to come to that in a minute. But now I first want to establish two extremely important things that we all need to know when we are children of God, and when we understand that we've got this command to go, to proclaim the message, to make disciples, to bring deliverance, to bring healing, to teach by the authority and the power that He's given, by giving the invitation. There's two things that we need to understand. The first thing that we need to understand is we do nothing, absolutely zero, nothing, if we don't pray. If we don't have a powerful prayer ministry, nothing happens. You can forget about it. So the first thing with Christ for Europe that you're participating in, and I trust you have this, I trust you have an incredibly powerful, strong prayer ministry going in this church. Is that so? Can I see your hands? Is this so? If this is not so, who's going to head this prayer ministry? I want to know. Who's going to do it right now? Thank you, sister. I don't know who the people responsible is, but get that sister's name. And this sister here as well. Please. I need you people, extremely important. You need to head up this prayer ministry. People that will seriously pray for the people out there whose hearts are going to be touched. I need them to pray seriously for the people that are coming to present. I need them to seriously pray for people like Jan and myself and Louis Torres and Gideon Pelser and all the rest. I need you to pray for those people because they need protection. They need protection from the devil. We are on constant attack, I can tell you that. The attacks might not be as big as many people think. But, you know, when I'm out here, when I'm working and I'm gone from my house already for 5 weeks, and somebody phones my wife and says, hey, you better tell Neville to stay home for a change. That's an attack of the devil. Do you know that? Because basically, that person is telling my wife, hey, tell your husband not to do the work that God has given him. Tell him to stop the work. I told you about the deliverance situation in Zambia where that friend of mine had that experience. Let me tell you that experience. Her name is Miroslava Garkov. That's the lady who had the experience. She lives in London. Her husband is Michael Garkov. They're part of ASI, Europe. They're on that team. Maybe some of you know them. Miroslava preached, and she was going to preach the state of the dead. And the night before, Miroslava woke up, and she told me that it was like the devil was pressing down on her chest, trying to force out every breath in her body. And as she woke up and she had this terrible feeling, the lights started coming on and off, and then the television started going on and off. And she was afraid, and she was desperate, and she started crying out in prayer, and then it subsided. And when she stopped praying, it came back. And all the time, her husband was in bed next to her, sleeping. And eventually, Michael woke up, and he saw all of this. And Michael started reading from the Bible. And then slowly but surely, all this sort of disappeared. Miroslava fell asleep. Michael continued reading, and eventually he fell asleep reading, but it was gone. The next morning, Miroslava came to me and she said, Neville, I need to share this with you. And I said, well, the devil doesn't want you to pray the state of the dead. Here in Africa, that's a big thing. He doesn't want you to get out that message. But we got to keep on praying for you, and you got to preach that message, and you got to preach. And she said, no, you don't understand, Neville. I heard this voice, and he said, you are not ready. Go home. You are not ready. Go home. You cannot preach. Go home. So when somebody phones my wife, meaning good, they don't mean bad. Not at all. And say, tell your husband to stay home for a change. It's the devil saying, tell Neville to stop the work of God. Tell him to stop. Don't preach the word. Don't tell people. So we're under constant attack. We need your prayers. The prayer team needs to pray for those people. It's seriously important. The prayer team needs to pray for every possibility that comes up, prayer requests that come in. It's a serious work. So I thank the two ladies. You will head up the prayer. You will make sure that you have a prayer group established, hopefully by the end of this day. The second thing that is needed is you need an unconditional love for every single person out there. It's got to burn within you. I want you to understand this. I really want you to understand it, because if you don't love people, there is no way that you're going to reach them. You have to love them. And when I say you need to love them with a burning desire, you need to be able to go on your knees, every single one of you, and you have to say, Lord, give me Geneva. Lord, I need Geneva. I cannot allow my brothers and sisters to go lost. I cannot allow them not to be in eternity with me. Lord, I need them. You need to fight with the Lord. You need to have love for everybody. Let me explain this to you. The moment that you decided to accept Jesus Christ, the moment when you accepted to become a follower of Jesus Christ, that moment, there's a number of things that changed. You lost the citizenship of the country that you are in, that you were born in. Duke, you're not a Kenyan, I'm sorry. You might have been born there, and that's great. But you're not a Kenyan. You're a citizen of heaven. I'm not Namibian, I'm not South African. I'm a citizen of heaven. I'm a sojourner right here at the moment on this earth. I'm a sojourner. I'm certainly not a citizen of this world, neither of any country, although I carry a passport. That's unfortunately a thing that I have to do. I wish I wouldn't have to. But that's just part of the game. But I'm citizen of heaven. I stand under a different government. My government is the theocracy of King Jesus. That's my government. I speak the language of heaven, which is not English or Swahili or Afrikaans or German or whatever. The language is praise and worship. That's the language of heaven. And if you can't praise and worship, I'm sorry, you're not going to like it in heaven. Because that's what's done in heaven. Praising and worshiping. At every possible occasion, the angels are holy, holy, holy is the Lord God of hosts. And if we can't do that, we're not going to be happy. So we have a new language, we have a new government, we have a new citizenship, but we are also members. Oh, don't worry, he doesn't bother me at all. That's okay. We also belong to the Church of Jesus Christ. Just incidentally, Ellen White in testimony says that we belong to the Church of Jesus Christ. Yes, we are Seventh-day Adventists, that's true. But we are also members of the Church of Jesus Christ, and He's our high priest. So we are not orthodox or evangelical or reformed or whatever. We are members of the Church of Jesus Christ, where we do what He wants and we portray His character. We need to understand that, because if we understand that, we can love each other irrespective of who we are. So that's extremely important that we understand this. And we need to love each other unconditionally, irrespective of who you are and who I am. Because in Jesus and in heaven, there's not going to be separate little places all over heaven where, you know, the ones that don't like Mercedes-Benzes, they are in this corner. And the ones who rather prefer to have their own homes are in this corner. And the ones that really want to live in apartment blocks are over here. No, ain't going to happen. So if we can't get together as brothers and sisters, we got a big problem. And you know, I find it so interesting. Sometimes we find it that we say, oh, well, you know what, we got to rather not speak with those people over there because, you know, they listen to somebody called Walter Fite. We better not listen to him. I'm naming this as an example because I want to tell you this. If this is my attitude to say, sorry, you know, we can't listen to you because you listen to him, the problem is not there, the problem is here. Because in heaven I won't be able to say, you know what, I can't associate with them. I will keep myself over here. So if I can't associate with them here, I've got the problem, not them. You get what I'm saying? So as an example, it's just an example, but I want you to understand that. If those are the two criteria that we're working on strong prayers and on love, unconditional, burning love, if those are the things we work on, I want to tell you something else. That's when that comes in line, because it means that you and I have to tell the uncomfortable truths. Something that people don't like, but we have to. This says, cry aloud, spare not. Spare not means I do not dare spare you the uncomfortable truth. Because if I do spare you the uncomfortable truth, do I seriously love you enough to want you in heaven? I want to read you something from Testimonies. Interesting. Very, very interesting. It's in Testimonies, volume 9, page 28. It says, in the visions of the night, a very impressive scene passed before me. I saw an immense ball of fire fall among some beautiful mansions, causing their instant destruction. I heard someone say, we knew that the judgments of God were coming upon the earth. Do you and I know that the judgments of God are coming upon the earth? Oh, so that's probably us, right? We knew that the judgments of God were coming upon the earth, but we did not know that they would come so soon. Oh, really? But the signs of the times are all around us. We choose not to see it. We choose to ignore it because we don't like it that this time of trouble might be on us. Okay. Others, with agonized voices, said, you knew? Why then did you not tell us? We did not know. On every side I heard similar words of reproach spoken. You knew? You knew all along who this Antichrist was? You knew what the mark of the beast was? You knew? And you didn't tell me? Come on! Spare not. Lift up thy voice. Speak the uncomfortable truths like a trumpet and show my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sins. Wait a minute, who's the my people? Who's the my people? That's every single one on this earth. They're the creations of God. That's not a few elect elitists. Every single person on this earth. Because John 3:16 says, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. For who? For everybody. There's something else in the Bible that says that God knew us before we were even formed in the wombs of our mothers. That means he had planned you and me. That means he had a special job just for you and for me. That means that he had a special place in mind for you and me in heaven. And if you and I don't make it to heaven, that space is going to be empty. Show my people. That means show every single person you get in contact with. Because they need to know. They need to know that God, their Creator, loves them unconditionally. He loves them with a burning desire. He wants them in eternity to fill the space that He specifically designed for them, to do the job that He specifically designed for them. Sometimes we think that, we shouldn't do things. We should be a little bit circumspect, and we should be, we should worry about hate speech, and we should worry about, political correctness, and we should worry about, we should love everybody, and if we love everybody, we shouldn't offend them, and stuff like that. There's all kinds of things like this going on at the moment in the world. I visited a place called Philippi just very recently. I visited Philippi. That's the agora. The agora is the marketplace. Oh no, it won't show up there. Okay, the agora is the marketplace. So the marketplace is this empty space in the middle. That's where the people congregated. That's where the people got together. And on the sides, there were the shops and the things like that. So when Paul went to Philippi, you know that he got the vision. He went over the ocean. He went to Samothrace. And then from Samothrace, he went to Neapolitana. And from Neapolitana, he went to Philippi. And here in Philippi, he started talking. And it was probably in this marketplace where he started speaking. Probably in that marketplace. And when he told his story, the people were not quite satisfied with Paul. They didn't like what he had to say, because Paul was speaking the uncomfortable truths. Because Paul loved them. Paul wanted to see them saved. Paul wanted to bring them God's love. They didn't like it. So they caught Paul and they put him and Silas in a prison. And this is the prison where Paul and Silas were put in. They sat in that little cell. And midnight, they started singing songs. And the gates went open. And the guard wanted to kill himself, and Paul and them said, "Don't worry, we're still here." And so they left. But before they left, they went down to the river. This is a river just outside of Philippi. And here they found Lydia, who came from Thyatira. And she was a linen salesperson. She sold linen cloth, purple linen cloth. But she also had a church, and they worshiped together with Lydia here somewhere on this stream, somewhere outside of Philippi. And they baptized people. This is a deep spot in the river, so I sort of took a picture here because that's deep enough to baptize people there. But before he got here, and from here he went to Thessalonica, and from Thessalonica he went to Berea. But why am I showing you these pictures, and why am I telling you this? Because when he was in Philippi, before they even put him in jail, they beat him with sticks. Then they put him in jail. Then he went here, and from here he went to Berea. And in Berea, in Thessalonica, the Jews gave him a lot of trouble. And he had to leave Thessalonica. And he went to Berea. And Berea is 75 kilometers away from Berea. And when they heard he was in Berea, they walked by foot over extremely difficult terrain, walked to go to Berea, to go and give him uphill in Berea. Because he was preaching the uncomfortable truths that they didn't want to be born. But Paul never stopped. He continued preaching the uncomfortable truths. He continued telling people about Jesus Christ because he loved them with a burning desire. He wanted to see them saved. This is the other verse I like. Habakkuk. Man, who reads Habakkuk? We had a story in my country where some of the teachers thought they'd be very nice and they do a very nice thing. And they thought that they'd get the children to represent the books of the Bible. And so every child had a cardboard with the book, Genesis, Exodus, and so on. And then that night when moms and dads were all there, the teacher would say, and the Bible was written, and the first book was Genesis, and then up comes Genesis, And then, and so they stood there, and it was like wonderful, Except the guy that got Habakkuk. I think he was like one of your boys. Habakkuk? I mean, come on, Who wants to be Habakkuk? And he went and spoke to his friend. He said, hey, we got to change this, You be Habakkuk. Let me be yours. And he said, no, man. I don't like that Habakkuk name. He said, well, I'll give you a tin of condensed milk. He said, okay, change. But then, of course, just a little while, and that guy said, well, I don't want to be Habakkuk. And he spoke, and he said, I'll give you this tin of condensed milk. And so they changed. And so, Habakkuk changed hands. And so the night of the event, the teacher said, and Genesis came up, and like Ruth walked in. And the whole Bible was chaos that night because nobody wanted to be Habakkuk. But Habakkuk is a great book. Habakkuk is a wonderful book. And look at this. Look at what it says. Look at the nations and watch and be utterly amazed. For I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe even if you were told. Now I'm going to tell you two stories. Am I boring you? You want to go home? Okay, good. Two stories. The first story is very recent. It happened today in Mindanao in the Philippines. We baptized today 24,000 people in Mindanao this morning. 24,000. I've got the photos on my phone. If somebody can put my phone on there, I'll show you the photos. 24,000 people baptized this morning. Isn't that unreal? But I want to tell you something else. That's unreal. That's a big number. We now moved from 350 in Zambia a couple of weeks ago to 24,000 today. A couple of years ago, in 2019, we were preparing Papua New Guinea for Christ for Papua New Guinea. I went and did cell phone evangelism training. I trained the people to do cell phone evangelism, and they got it. They understood it. They really knew what to do. And then came COVID, and everything stopped. Everything was blocked. We couldn't go. So we couldn't have the meetings. All right, COVID ended. Eventually the world opened up. A little bit towards the end of last year, we called them up and we said, all right, seeing that we have decided that we will assist you, we will come and do this next year, 2024. We will come to Papua New Guinea and come and finish that TMI thing that we started. And we said, we'd like to schedule training and stuff like that. We'd like to get this whole thing moving again. They said, oh, that's wonderful. We are happy to hear that. But you know what? We continue doing it anyway. We said, oh, really? And how did you do that? Oh, we continued with cell phone evangelism. We worked with cell phone evangelism. Oh, really? Yeah. And how did it go? No, it went okay. All right, what do you mean by okay? I mean, did you baptize? Yeah, we baptized people. All right, so how many people did you baptize? Okay, take a guess. How many people do you think we baptized? 350,000 people. $350,000 from 2019 to the beginning of this year. 350,000 people baptized. And they are unhappy. It's just okay. because they wanted to baptize 500,000. Really? For I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe even if you were told. But I've got the photos, so I can show you the photos. My visit at Papua New Guinea that day, my last thing that I did for them, they said, will you visit the jail with us? I said, yeah, okay, I'll visit the jail with you. I didn't know that they were going to take me to the juvenile delinquent prison. That I didn't know. I also didn't know that the prison that they were taking me is not only juvenile delinquents, but it's people that have made serious crimes, murders and rapes, that kind of thing. It's not easy criminals here. So we went. Just before we entered the prison, Cameron Worry, my host, said to me, oh, by the way, they've got cell phones in the prison. They smuggle them in. Would you mind getting us a telephone number? I said, listen, this is Papua New Guinea. They eat people here. Do you want me to be in this jail? You know what I mean? That's not a comfortable thought, you know. I said, okay, we'll see what we can do. So we went in. We had this meeting. All the juveniles came out. They sat there. They had a little bit of a talk with them, sang a few songs. Then they broke up into little groups that we could speak to the people a little bit more personally, and so on. But now you know this is prison, right? So you don't get to touch anybody. You don't touch them, they don't touch you, right? You don't walk towards them, they don't walk towards you. There's always guards, that's how it is, right? So we're in this little group. I'm sitting here, there's one other person next to me, the prison guards over there, and right over there, there's a strapping big boy. He's big. I look up to him like that. He's big, and he's proportionally built. He's like that. I mean, he's, serious stuff. And they say to me, will you pray for him? I think, wow. Okay. So now it comes to this prayer time. And I don't know what makes me do this. But I get up out of my chair and I walk towards him, right in front of the guard. That's not allowed. They told us that. But I stand up and I walk towards this guy and I say, get up, come here. Right in front. And there's all other guards standing all over like that. They all see this. They don't do anything. He gets up. I take him by the hand. I say, listen, my brother, if you want me to pray for me, you first have to tell me something. He says, what? I says, and now, let me interject myself. This guy was going to be freed the next day. He was going to go out of prison the next day. Because the evidence they had against him got lost. He was going to walk out a free man. Now I've got his hand right in front of the guard. And I said to him, if you want me to pray for you, I need to know, did you do what you are in prison for? He starts crying, that big strapping man. And he says, sir, I killed that man. I say, wow. Now I need for you to tell me, are you really sorry that you did that? He says, sir, I'm sorry, but I really don't know how I'm going to fix it. I said, well, for starters, you need to repent. You need to tell God about this. And you will have to fix it up with his family. I said, that's a start. He says, so I'll do anything. I said, so why don't you pray? Why don't you tell God? And right there and then he starts praying. And he's crying. This big man. He's crying. And he's saying, God, I'm so sorry that I did this. And when he finished, I said, now I can pray for you. And so I pray for him. As we finish the prayer, I say to him, by the way, I need a telephone number. He says, you'll have it before you go. I go and sit. Nobody interfered. No God. Nobody interfered. So now it's time to go. The guard is at the gate, both sides, guards. And then we go through them to greet them. And then we go through the guards, and then we're still in prison, and then there's still a long walk till the gate of the prison. As I walk through the tunnel, he puts out his hand, and I take his hand again. And as I take his hand, he puts a piece of paper in my hand, and I take the piece of paper. And I put this paper in my pocket. And now I'm worried. Because I know they've seen it, man. And I'm worried because I think they're going to tap me on the shoulder any moment now, you know. And we go out and we walk that long, long way up to the gates. And we go out of the gates, and I get my phone, which we had to hand in. And then I ask the guys, I say, can I take a picture with you guys? And they say, yeah. I said, now, can I take a picture with that guard up there? And they say, yeah, they'll call him. And they call him. And we have a picture, Cameron Worry and myself and Wayne Burm of Sydney in Australia and this prison guard. And so we leave. Cameron Worry comes to pick me up and take me to the airport the next morning. And Cameron Worry says to me, Neville, we sent out the first evangelistic cell phone message to the prisons last night. I said, great, Cameron, that's fantastic. He says, I want you to see the response. And he hands me his telephone. And there's a lot of cell phone messages, like just lots. And they're all from the people in prison. And they say, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us. Thank you for bringing Jesus Christ to us. Thank you for bringing forgiveness to us. Thank you for making forgiveness possible for us. The entire prison got the message. We can go with cell phones where nobody else can go. There's no borders, there's no limits, there's no walls. We can go with cell phone anywhere where airwaves go. Cell phones are absolutely amazing. But we need to have that burning desire to share the message with those around us. We need to pray to God to give us Geneva. We need to have an extremely strong prayer ministry. And we need to believe it, that when He says, I'm going to do something in your day that you would not believe, even if you were told, then we need to believe that between whatever your membership now is and the 80,000 that's not there, Christ can give that to us. It's in His power to do so. In fact, He can give us even more. But then we have to do the work. Then we have to tell the uncomfortable truths. Then we have to bring the truth as it is in Jesus Christ. And we have to do the work. And that means doing cell phone evangelism. That means visiting people in their homes. That means getting an interest coordinator and getting an interest file going. That means that we do everything possible to make sure that we've got people that will attend the Christ for Europe meeting when it is held here in May. Because only when they hear the word can they make the decision. If they don't hear the word, there is no way that they're going to make the decision. And that is up to you and up to me. Now, I would like to make a call. I've already made one call of who's going to run the prayer ministry. And my sister over there and my sister over here is going to run the prayer ministry. Now I want to know, those of you who are sitting here from Cologne and from Geneva, I want to know, who of you care enough about the people here in Geneva and in Cologne that you would like to say that I would like my brothers and sisters out there to be saved? Who of you? Okay, it's a few people. It's not everybody, but it's a few. Those of you who care enough and that are prepared to do something about it, That is, to take your time and your energies and to devote it to preparing the field and making sure that everything's going to go right. I want you to stand now with me. That means it's a commitment. I want you to stand. Pastor Clifford, will you please take a photo so that this afternoon I can make sure every single one of these people are here? Because if they are not here, then we're going to have to go and see them. And I don't know if you've got friends in Sicily, but I have. That's just a joke. Okay. So I really want all of you that are committed to do this. I want you here this afternoon because I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you about the cell phone evangelism and the cell phone evangelism app. I'm going to tell you how you can meet people, and I'm going to tell you how you can get contacts. You don't have to worry about it. I'll give you more contacts than you can handle. Okay? I promise you that. I'll give you examples now. I promise you I'll give you more contacts than you can handle. But I need you to understand and know how this works, because you will need to know how it works to do the work. And you can do it from your home, and you don't need more than an hour a day. So I promise you that as well. So that's less than 5% of your time. So that's still within tithe, you know. So that's okay. All right? So we need that. And by this afternoon, if we have some more questions, we'll talk about the questions. And then tomorrow we will talk about preparing the field and getting the field ready and done. Okay? But I need all of you to be here. And those of you that are not standing, those of you who are sitting, you can sit down. Those of you who have sat and not decided to stand up, I want you to seriously consider, because if you haven't considered and you don't think about coming, I want you to think again. God's commission when He called you, when you decided to be a disciple, when you decided to follow Jesus, He did not say you can sit and do nothing. He didn't say that. He didn't allow you that luxury. The job is you have to cry aloud. You have to lift up your voice. You have to show the people their transgressions. You have to show the house of Jacob their sins. You have to spread the gospel. That's your job. So if you didn't stand up, I want you to reconsider, and I want you to be here this afternoon. We need every single one of you. In cell phone evangelism, if you're going to do it good, every one of you can handle a maximum of 20 people. And if we want to reach a lot of people, we need every possible person to do that. Every possible person. If you take a look at the numbers here and you add up the numbers and you times that by 20, now we've got a decent sort of group. If that's what we can do. And I can assure you we can. Let me give you an example. I'm going to give you the most extreme example, the hardest of all, Japan. Because Japan doesn't have the history of Sweden. Sweden is a strong Protestant country. You know that they provided a safe haven for the Protestants in Europe when they were persecuted relentlessly. They provided a safe haven. Of course, the government is not Protestant inclined right now, but still, it's still a strong Christian government or Christian people living here. It's just a strong base. So Switzerland is not so bad. But Japan is difficult because it is not Christian. Right? So when I got there and I told the people of Japan, they said to me, this will never work in Japan. They said to me, listen, here in Japan we are very private people. We don't share our telephone numbers with anybody. We don't speak to strangers. We don't use WhatsApp. We only use Line. We are so rich we can fix anything within a week. We don't need God. They told me this. I'm serious. Serious. They said that to me. I said, okay, I hear what you're saying. But I want to do two things. Firstly, I want you to humor me. Will you download WhatsApp on your telephones right now? And they did. And I said, please open WhatsApp. And they opened WhatsApp. I said, what do you see there? They said, he has a lot of names there. I said, is that names in your contact list? Yes, but what are they doing on WhatsApp? I said, they're already there. Start talking to them. You thought that you are only online. You're making a mistake. There's a lot of people on there as well. But now with the app, that doesn't matter. They can be on any app. They can be on WeChat, Snapchat, on QQ, YY, Telegram, Viber. It doesn't matter. Because the app talks to all of them. It's the only app of its kind. Nobody else there has it. We are the only ones. Myself and my 2 engineers, we made this possible through God's grace. And I'll tell you the story that Cecilia spoke about. God has been extremely good to us. It's the only one that can talk to every single platform out there, and you don't have to have the platforms on your phone. You don't have to have any of them on your phone. You still talk to them. Okay? So it's fantastic. Then I said to him, now we're going to make a second experiment. While I'm going to train you right now, I'm going to make an advert on Facebook in English, in the English language, not on that, funny little language that they paint, Not like that. I'm going to do it in English. And by the time we finish training, we see how much reaction we've got. They sniggered at me. They said, he's going to be taught a lesson. But by the end of the day, we had 38 people saying they want Bible studies. By the end of the day. Then I said to them, we will make another experiment. Tonight, I will send out the first Bible study to these people. And tomorrow morning, we'll see what the reaction is. They laughed. They said, when these people get the Bible studies, they're going to know it's Christian. You will never hear from them again. That's it. This is the end of the experiment. The next morning, I came to the training session. I took my phone. I said to the guy, here's my phone. I said, open my phone. I have not done it yet. Open my phone. I gave him my code. He opened my phone. I said, take a look. Japan. Click on that. He clicked on Japan. I said, what do you see there? He says, there's messages. I said, read the message. He said, I am Cindy Yamamoto, Tokyo Prefecture. I want to join your church. What's the address? He said, this cannot be true. I said, it is. There it is. God is good. Then we made a real advert for Japan in their language with their writing. And I used the flooding in Fukuoka as the basis of the advert. After 3 days, they said, please stop the advert. I said, why? There's probably not any reaction, is there? They said, we've got 14,000 Bible studies. We cannot handle it anymore. This is Japan. I can assure you, you will have more people than you can handle when we run those adverts. So Bia, I need every single one of you. Okay? May God bless you. Clifford?